So my name's Kevin Wilson. I'm with Humanly. I know what you're thinking. It's another software company that's just taken a word and added ly. That is true. That is true. But that choice of human is very important. That's very intentional for us, right? As a technology company, especially in recruiting, leveraging AI, the human is always at the center of what we're doing. We're technologists. We're excited about pushing the envelope. But that line in the sand for us is always the candidate experience, right? The two humans that we have in mind are, of course, our lovely recruiters and sourcers in the room, but the other is the candidate on the other end. So yes, we want to make your lives easier, but we can't do it at expense of the candidate. So what are we doing? Humanly is everything from source, outreach, screen, scheduling, and reporting. In the next 5 minutes, we're going to mostly just focus on the sourcing aspect. Let's jump right into it. Okay, is that big enough on the screen? That looks pretty good. Great, okay. So, one of the number one ways to use AI, in our opinion, right, is to go fast, right? Because from a candidate experience perspective, one of the best things you can do is move quickly, get them answers fast, get them scheduled quickly, right? And so one of the big things to do there is to integrate with your existing tech stack. Number one is, of course, your ATS. So I'm here in Humanly, and we're at the sourcing tab. We're sourcing for this sales director role, right? So you can see that this job has been pulled, in this case from Greenhouse. We integrate with a ton of ATSs, but in this demo example, we have Greenhouse here. So we're pulling in the job from Greenhouse the second that it's opened and ingesting all that data, right? So the job description, but also who are we actually interviewing for this job? So when we're matching in Humanly, we're looking at these calibration candidates right here, right? And so you can see, like, yeah, I've got my name, I've got role, company. I also have source on where they came from. So these are folks who have gone beyond hiring manager screen for this job. Say, hey, if they've made it that far, we're going to consider them an example. We'll also look at who you're sourcing with our platform. And of course, you can give us, past hires, existing employees, and match off that as well. It goes up to 10, but it's a conveyor belt, right? Because we know that first calibration call you have, and then once you've actually started talking to candidates, once the hiring manager started talking to candidates, it's going to change a little bit, right? So this needs to be a living and breathing calibration. So the second we get an 11th example, that first example is bumped off, unless you pin them, right? And you say, you know what? I always want this person to be considered an example candidate for this role. So when we talk about, keeping the human at the center of this process, one of the big things with AI, right? I mean, as an AI company, it's kind of on us to be ethical in the way in which we implement it. The United States Congress doesn't know how Facebook works. So, it's on us as the people actually building AI to do it in the right way. So one of those lines in the sand, right? AI should never make any decisions on candidates, especially applicants, right? So what the AI is doing is it's sorting the lists for me. And in this sourcing tab, I can see candidates from all sources. So here on the left, I have my passive candidates. These are candidates you don't know yet. They're not in your ATS. You've never reached out to them before. In the middle, I have applicants for this role. Over here in the referral network, these are connections of my colleagues. So you have your colleagues share their LinkedIn network with our platform, and we will pull them in and transform that into a sourceable candidate pool. So you're not waiting for referrals to come to you anymore. You're going out and you're finding them. And then over on the right, you have the CRM tab. This is every single person in the ATS, but it's not just their resume from 2 years ago, right? We're pulling in that profile, refreshing and enriching the data so that you know what they're up to now and what role might actually be a better fit for them today. Okay, so when I click into a profile like Austin, it's going to tell me why we've suggested Austin, right? And that's, of course, like things like his title, but it's also what did he actually do at that company, right, when he had that title. And what actually is that company, right? So when you're sourcing here in our platform, yes, we care about the candidate data, but that context of when he made those achievements is super, super important. So like, what is Confluent? Which industries are relevant to it? And then how big was the company when Austin worked there? How fast was it growing? When did he join, right? What series of funding rounds did he see? And not only can you see that on the profile, but of course that's something that you can search with. And I can see Jim lurking here. I've got one more thing. So if I want to reach out to Austin, all I need to do is hit this engage button. If I have a campaign already, great, but I can also generate messaging on the fly. So what we're doing here is we're taking the job description, we're taking information about Austin to personalize it. We're also looking at our data. We see hundreds of thousands of recruiting email threads go through our systems every single month. Which ones are working the best, right? So can GPT write a better campaign than you? Not yet, right? But it can write it faster, and I've got something to work with, right? So for instance, if we see the word remote in the job description, we will put that in the outreach because that's gonna raise your response rate by 33%, right? So we can kind of implement best practices with AI, and again, just do these things faster, right? So I hit send, the outreach goes out. Once Austin replies, we detect, is he interested or not, and get him scheduled on your calendar.
Cool.
I'm ready for my question now, Jim.
All right. So the question, your challenge from the community is this: find us a senior data scientist in the Chicagoland area.
Okay.
Senior data scientist in the Chicagoland area.
So I'm gonna actually let the platform do the work for me instead of doing it myself. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up a new search here. So senior data scientist in Chicago. So I just kept it really simple there, but I could have totally pasted a job description in. So what's our company name? We call ourselves Human Beings. I didn't get that in my onboarding. Kevin, we're human beings. I was like, so I got to pick lima bean or green bean, string bean. I like all kinds of beans. Okay, cool. So what's going to happen here is we're just going to take what I've put in the chat so far. And again, I was super bare bones there, right? I could have been much more specific. I could have just taken a JD and pasted it in there, but just kept it high level. And now it's going to start showing me example profiles that I can then kind of give a thumbs up or a thumbs down to. Okay, great. So here's my first example profile, right? I can click to expand. We've got senior data scientist in that title. Now he's a data engineer. I could say yes, I could say no. What I could also do, right? This chat's great and it's really easy. It's doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me. But I mean, I don't think it can out hack any of you. I mean, we saw that hackathon yesterday, right? So if you want to get straight to it, you can hit this update search button, and I can start putting in my own filters, right? I can paste in my Boolean, right? I've got my company, I've got the funding round stages. I can do all of that if I want, or I can just keep it simple and be like, yeah, sure, good fit. So now that I've done that, it's also generated the messaging for me. And again, it's is this better? So honestly, sometimes it's pretty close. But if I wanted to edit this messaging, I could. If not, I can just go ahead and say, yeah, that looks good. Let's go ahead and get going. And now I'm ready to start sourcing. So then I click Start Sourcing, and I'm back into this sourcing tab here, which is where we started, right? Over here, I have the actual job itself as well. But then, here I can see kind of what filters we've parsed, right? But again, right now we're just using the AI to match, right? And so the AI is going to match and reorder. It's up to you and your filters to actually whittle those lists down and then start to take mass action, right? Either on the passive side or with the referrals, those in our CRM, or our applicants. I see Jim again. I think I'm done. Yeah, okay.